Senator Sen Coons of Delaware is with us now from Capitol Hill. Senator, welcome.
Thank you, Elaine. Good to be on with you.
Well, in a series of tweets Wednesday morning, President Trump said the New York City terror suspect came into the U.S. through what he called the Democrat Diversity Visa Lottery Program. The president then said he is fighting hard for a merit-based visa system. What did you make of Mr. Trump's response?
Well, first, my thoughts and prayers go out to the 8 families who lost loved ones in the attack in Lower Manhattan yesterday. And I'm concerned that President Trump's immediate response today has been to go on the attack, to attack New York Senator Chuck Schumer, to, I think, baselessly criticize him for what President Trump alleges is his responsibility for a visa program that actually Senator Schumer helped co-lead a bipartisan effort to end and replace with a more balanced immigration program through a comprehensive bill that I co-sponsored and voted for in the last Congress. I frankly wish the president would focus on things that bring us together and things that will make us safer. As Senator Schumer mentioned in a floor speech earlier today, the president's budget significantly cuts by a quarter grants to states and localities that are likely targets of terrorism. I think one of the great things we could do together is to make sure that that funding is restored.
You think a different kind of visa system then could have prevented an attack such as this?
Well, we don't know that. That's very speculative. The attacker has been in this country for 6 years, and what led to his radicalization, what led him to undertake this insane, murderous attack, I don't think we can connect directly to that visa program. I do think we should strengthen America's borders and strengthen our visa programs overall. That's why more than 2/3 of senators worked so hard together in the last Congress to pass a bipartisan, comprehensive immigration reform bill. A piece of that bill was eliminating this diversity visa program as it exists and transitioning to programs that also provide opportunity for folks from a wide range of countries to come to the United States and contribute of their skills and strengths and background. I frankly think rather than debating the specifics of that, we ought to be finding ways that we can work together in a bipartisan way, both to help New York respond, recover, and heal, and to find a way to fix our broken immigration system.
On Wednesday, the president called the federal justice system a, quote, laughingstock when it comes to prosecuting terror suspects. The White House also said it considers the suspect an enemy combatant. What's your response to that?
Well, I don't think it's constructive for our president to undermine the civil liberties and the criminal justice system of the United States by labeling it a laughingstock. I frankly think that the professionals in law enforcement at the state and local level all over our country do a great job stepping forward and protecting us. And I think our criminal justice system strikes a good balance in trying to respect our constitutional liberties while also keeping us safe. I'll remind you that someone from NYPD responded almost immediately and was able to take effective action preventing the attacker from harming anyone else. So my wish is that we'd focus on the things that we can agree on, which is that we're blessed to have men and women in law enforcement who protect us, and that we have to strike a balance between our constitutional protections and keeping folks safe in this country. And I look forward to finding ways to do that together with Republican and Democratic colleagues here in the Senate.
Let's turn to another topic. You heard from representatives from Facebook, Twitter, and Google about how Russia used their platforms to influence the 2016 election. Were you satisfied by the responses you received?
I was not, Elaine. I was encouraged that we had a full committee hearing where Republicans and Democrats together questioned senior leaders from Facebook, from Google, from Twitter. But I would have been more persuaded that they were taking this seriously if their CEOs themselves were present, if Mark Zuckerberg were the person representing Facebook rather than one of their lawyers. I presented 2 of the fake ads that were paid for in rubles by Russians that pretended to be a Facebook event put on by Americans or a Facebook ad put forward by an American group. As I said, these were frauds, and this was a way that Russia was able to mislead hundreds of thousands, even millions or tens of millions of Americans through using Facebook as a front. I questioned yesterday strongly why it's taken 11 months for Facebook to come forward and to share with us here in the Congress and with the United States what they know about Russia's meddling in our last election. This is one of the most direct assaults on our democracy in our history, and I wish that the folks in Silicon Valley from these companies and others were taking it more seriously and being more forthcoming in their cooperation with our ongoing questioning about Russia's interference in our 2016 election.
Senator, last month you co-sponsored a bill that would ban the sale of bump stocks. They were used by the gunman in the Las Vegas massacre. It has now been a month since that shooting. Where does bump stock legislation stand now in the Senate?
I'm very frustrated, Elaine, that it hasn't moved forward. This is exactly the sort of simple, common sense legislation that doesn't interfere with the Second Amendment rights of a broad run of Americans that I thought we'd be able to move right after this horrific, lethal attack a month ago today in Las Vegas. 58 Americans lost their lives and hundreds were wounded. And it's because of the capability of the attacker to take semi-automatic weapons and make them fully automatic weapons using these so-called bump stocks or trigger cranks that made the lethality of that attack possible. Right after the attack, we heard broad statements from Republicans and Democrats here supporting action that would end easy access to these tools. And that hasn't moved forward now in the Congress, and I'm deeply frustrated by that.
Let me turn to another issue here. Republican Senator Jeff Flake of Arizona announced a little over a week ago that he would be retiring. You later wrote that his exit should scare Democrats. Why do you say that?
Well, Elaine, Senator Jeff Flake is someone who I've gotten to know as a colleague, as a friend, as someone who I've legislated with. He is very conservative. He's voted with the president 90% of the time. This is not someone who is a middle-of-the-road fainting flower who isn't willing to step forward and toe the line of the Republican Party on key issues of value to them. And yet he's retiring because, as he said in his floor speech, it seems there isn't room for him in the Republican Party. Why? Partly because Senator Flake has stood up strongly for the traditional bipartisan commitment of the people of the United States to a foreign policy that is engaged, that is active, that says we're going to fight for human rights and democracy and for a free press around the world, rather than the America First isolationist foreign policy that has been more the theme of Steve Bannon and others in the Trump administration, and that has been more typical of the positions that candidate Trump took and that now at times President Trump has taken. So why am I scared, and why do I think Americans should be concerned? If there isn't room for a Senator Flake or a Senator Corker or a Senator McCain in the Republican Party, folks who have been strong leaders on a traditionally bipartisan approach to a values leadership by the United States, I think that threatens our role in the world, and I think that threatens our security and our prosperity more than anything that's going on here in Washington.
And specifically the message to Democrats.
Specifically, the message to Democrats of my editorial that you're quoting or referencing to there is that we ought to be mindful that we, too, don't become a divided party where we've got a group that says that the United States shouldn't lead in the world. I think many Democrats are stepping forward and taking up a leadership mantle and saying that we want to fight for human rights around the world. We want to fight for open societies and for freedom of the press. That's something that has long been bipartisan, and it's my hope and expectation that we in the Democratic Party will continue that fight that goes back to JFK and to Truman and to FDR. We need partners in the Republican Party, though, and Senator McCain recently gave a stirring speech in Philadelphia when he received the Liberty Medal at the National Constitution Center, given to him by former Vice President Joe Biden, my predecessor. In that speech, Senator McCain also sounded the alarm that we can't retreat from our leadership role in the world. It won't make us more safe, and it won't make us more secure.
Critical time for both parties. Senator Chris Coons, thank you so much, Senator, for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Elaine.